Close your eyes, relax, and let your breathing become slow and steady. The air is still. The night feels gentle. Somewhere beyond the darkness, the wide Nile River moves without hurry, carrying cool water between fields that have already fallen asleep. A faint breeze travels across the land, touching rows of reeds before drifting toward quiet villages built from warm mud brick. The stars rest above ancient Egypt just as they have for countless nights, silent witnesses to ordinary lives lived one peaceful day at a time. Far from the grand halls where rulers receive visitors and priests speak sacred words, there is another place that almost no one remembers. It is not large. It is not famous. Few travelers would ever notice it. Yet every temple depends upon it. Behind thick stone walls and narrow passages sits a storeroom, where shelves, jars, baskets, folded cloth, wooden chests, and simple tools wait patiently in the cool shade. This quiet room is where our day will unfold. No crowds gather here. No ceremonies fill the air. There are only careful hands, slow footsteps, and the soft sound of objects being placed exactly where they belong. The morning has not yet arrived. Outside, the desert is still wrapped in darkness. The great temples rise against the stars like peaceful mountains made by human hands. Their enormous columns disappear into shadows, while carved figures rest silently upon the walls. Even the birds remain asleep among palm branches beside the river. Inside the temple complex, only a handful of people are awake. One elderly gatekeeper sits beside a heavy wooden door. He wraps his linen cloak a little tighter against the cool air that always arrives before sunrise. A small oil lamp burns beside him. Its flame hardly moves. Occasionally he looks toward the eastern horizon, waiting for the first pale light that will slowly reveal the shapes of distant fields. Not far away, another worker walks quietly across the smooth stone courtyard. His sandals make almost no sound. He has walked this same path for many years. He knows every crack in the stone. He knows which doorway catches the morning breeze. He knows where dust gathers after windy afternoons. He carries no treasure. Only a simple bundle of reed brushes hangs over one shoulder. Today, like every other day, begins with ordinary work. The temple itself seems almost asleep. Huge walls keep yesterday's warmth inside while protecting countless rooms from the shifting desert wind. Narrow windows allow only thin ribbons of moonlight to enter. Somewhere deep inside those quiet halls waits the storeroom. Its wooden door remains closed. Behind it rests the peaceful order created by generations of careful workers. Hundreds of clay jars stand in neat rows. Some hold grain. Others contain dried herbs gathered many months before. There are baskets woven from reeds. Bundles of fresh linen folded with patient hands. Small boxes filled with beads waiting for future repairs. Copper tools polished after yesterday's work. Ropes carefully coiled. Wooden bowls stacked one inside another. Stone weights resting quietly upon shelves. Nothing shines like royal treasure. Everything exists because someone will need it tomorrow. Or next month. Or perhaps next year. The eastern sky slowly changes. Black becomes deep blue. Blue becomes soft gray. One bright star remains above the horizon before quietly disappearing into the growing light. The first birds begin to sing. Their voices are gentle, never hurried. A pigeon lands upon the temple roof. Small sparrows flutter among carved stone ledges, searching for tiny seeds carried by yesterday's breeze. Morning has arrived. The workers begin to enter. No one rushes. The day ahead is long. They know that steady hands accomplish more than hurried ones. The keeper of the storeroom approaches carrying a small wooden key attached to a linen cord. He is neither wealthy nor powerful. Most visitors to the temple never learn his name. Yet he remembers where nearly every object belongs. His memory has become another kind of shelf, carefully arranged through many peaceful years. He reaches the heavy wooden door. For a moment he simply rests one hand upon its smooth surface. The wood feels cool after the night. He unlocks the door. The hinges produce a low, familiar sound. Then the quiet room greets another morning. Cool air waits inside. The thick stone walls have protected the room from yesterday's heat. A faint scent of dried grain mixes with linen cloth, cedar wood, beeswax, and old pottery. It is a comforting smell. Nothing sharp. Nothing unpleasant. Only the quiet scent of things preserved with care. Sunlight has not yet reached this room. The first task is always the same. The keeper lights 2 small oil lamps. Warm golden light slowly fills the shelves. Clay jars cast long gentle shadows. Baskets reveal woven patterns made by hands that may no longer be alive. Dust dances slowly through the air. Every tiny grain seems to float without effort. The keeper breathes deeply. Another ordinary day has begun. He places his small writing board upon a low wooden table. Nearby rests a collection of reed pens. A little jar of black ink waits beside them. Soon another worker enters. He is younger. His shoulders are strong from lifting heavy containers. He smiles quietly before setting down several empty baskets. No words are needed. Both men already understand today's rhythm. The younger worker begins sweeping the floor with long reed brushes. Each movement is slow. Dust gathers into small piles. Nothing is missed. Even corners receive careful attention. A clean floor protects every stored object. The keeper checks each shelf one by one. He does not hurry. His fingers gently touch folded linen. He adjusts a basket that has shifted slightly. He straightens several wooden spoons resting inside a pottery bowl. Everything returns to peaceful order. Outside, the temple becomes busier. The sounds remain soft. Sandals pass along stone hallways. Someone carries fresh water from a nearby well. A baker begins preparing bread for workers who will soon grow hungry beneath the rising sun. The smell of warm grain slowly drifts through open courtyards. It reaches even the storeroom. The younger worker pauses for a moment. He smiles. Fresh bread always carries comfort. Soon carts begin arriving from nearby villages. Donkeys walk patiently beneath light bundles. Farmers greet temple workers with quiet respect. Some bring sacks of barley. Others carry onions, garlic, beans, dried dates, or woven reeds. Nothing arrives with great ceremony. These simple deliveries keep daily life moving. The keeper steps outside to inspect the morning's goods. Each sack receives a careful glance. Each basket is counted. Each jar is examined for cracks. He trusts the people who bring these supplies. Many have visited for years. Still, careful eyes protect everyone. The scribes arrive shortly afterward. Their linen clothing is freshly washed. Small wooden writing cases hang beside them. Their hands already carry faint dark marks from yesterday's ink. One scribe sits beside the table inside the storeroom. He prepares fresh ink by slowly mixing water with fine black powder. His movements are smooth and practiced. Nothing is wasted. The first basket enters. It contains dried figs. The keeper announces the quantity. The scribe records every number with patient strokes. His reed pen glides across smooth papyrus. Each symbol joins another until the day's records quietly grow longer. Outside, sunlight finally reaches the upper temple walls. Golden light slides across carved stone figures. Birds move between columns. Palm leaves shimmer gently in the morning breeze. The air remains pleasant. Soon the heat will arrive. But not yet. Inside the storeroom, the coolness remains. Clay jars stand like silent guardians. Some are taller than a child. Others fit easily within two hands. Every jar carries simple markings showing its contents. Some markings have faded after many years. The keeper knows them anyway. His memory fills the spaces where ink has disappeared. A woman arrives carrying folded linen. She has spent many days weaving it beside her family. Each piece feels soft but strong. The keeper unfolds every length. He checks for weak threads. He runs careful fingers across the fabric. Nothing escapes his attention. The cloth smells faintly of sunlight. It spent yesterday drying outside upon smooth wooden poles. Now it joins many other folded pieces waiting patiently upon the shelves. Nearby rests a collection of sandals needing repair. Leather straps have become loose. Reed soles have worn thin after many journeys across hot stone roads. Later another craftsman will collect them. Nothing useful is thrown away. Everything receives another chance to serve. This quiet habit stretches across the entire temple. Care lasts longer than waste. As morning continues, more workers pass through the storeroom. One requests fresh lamp oil. Another needs clean rope. Someone else asks for several polished copper knives used in preparing vegetables. Each request becomes another careful record upon the scribe's growing scroll. The keeper never seems impatient. He knows where everything belongs. Without searching, his hands move directly toward the correct shelf. Visitors often wonder how he remembers so much. Perhaps he no longer thinks about remembering. Perhaps years of repetition have quietly woven every shelf into his thoughts. The sun climbs higher. Warmth begins pressing gently against the outer temple walls. Courtyards brighten. Shadows grow shorter. Workers outside wipe small drops of sweat from their foreheads. The younger helper opens a narrow ventilation window inside the storeroom. Fresh air enters slowly. It carries distant smells of baked bread, crushed herbs, river water, and warm earth. Far away, fishermen already guide small boats along quiet stretches of the Nile. Their nets sink gently beneath calm water. Farmers bend over green fields where irrigation channels sparkle beneath sunlight. Children help gather vegetables before the strongest heat arrives. Life unfolds quietly in every direction. Yet inside the storeroom, time seems slower. Here, hours are measured by shelves becoming fuller. By jars moving from one place to another. By careful writing upon papyrus. By lamps trimmed. By baskets emptied. The keeper pauses beside one large cedar chest. Its wood is darker than everything nearby. The pleasant scent of cedar still remains after many years. Inside rests ceremonial cloths used only during important festivals. Most days the chest remains closed. Today he opens it only long enough to inspect the folded fabric. Everything remains dry. Everything remains clean. He closes the lid gently. Dust settles again. Silence returns. A small cat slips through the open doorway. Temple cats often wander wherever they please. This one walks slowly between shelves, tail held high. It pauses beside several grain jars. Perhaps it smells mice hiding somewhere beyond the stone walls. The younger worker scratches gently behind its ears. The cat purrs quietly before curling into a warm patch of sunlight now reaching across part of the floor. No one asks it to leave. Its peaceful company feels welcome. The scribe smiles without lifting his eyes from the papyrus. His pen continues its patient journey. Outside, a distant hammer taps softly where carpenters repair a wooden cart. The sound arrives faintly. Never harsh. Just another quiet rhythm joining countless others across the temple grounds. The keeper listens for a moment. He has heard these sounds almost every day of his life. They no longer interrupt his thoughts. Instead they become part of the day's gentle music. He walks toward the back of the storeroom where older shelves stand beneath thick stone beams. These shelves hold objects that are rarely needed. Ancient baskets. Extra pottery. Broken handles waiting for skilled repair. Bundles of spare papyrus. Old measuring cords. Nothing hurried waits here. Only patient usefulness. He lifts one pottery lid. Inside rests a small collection of dried lotus seeds. Perfectly preserved. Their faint earthy scent rises softly into the cool air. He smiles with quiet satisfaction before replacing the lid exactly as it was. The younger worker begins arranging newly delivered grain. Heavy sacks require careful lifting. He bends with practiced movements. His breathing remains steady. The work is tiring but familiar. Fine grains escape through tiny openings in the woven sacks, leaving pale trails across the floor. He brushes them gently into a small bowl. Nothing edible should be wasted. Outside, the temple kitchens become busy preparing the midday meal. Soon warm smells of onions cooking with herbs begin drifting through open doorways. The scent mixes with fresh bread and slowly roasting vegetables. Several workers pause briefly to enjoy the comforting aroma before returning to their tasks. The keeper continues checking each shelf, each basket, each folded cloth with the same patient care that has quietly shaped every one of his days. The keeper rests his hand for a moment upon the smooth edge of the nearest shelf. The cedar wood feels cool beneath his fingertips, protected from the growing warmth outside by thick limestone walls that have stood quietly through many seasons. He does not think about how many years he has worked in this room. The days have blended together so gently that they feel less like separate memories and more like one long, peaceful morning stretching across a lifetime. A beam of sunlight slowly reaches farther across the floor. It moves so quietly that no one notices at first. Only after many minutes does the sleeping cat lift its head and wander to another patch of cool stone, leaving behind a few soft paw prints in the thin layer of dust that always settles during the night. The younger worker smiles as he watches the animal disappear behind a row of grain jars. Then he returns to stacking woven baskets. Each basket has been made by careful hands somewhere beside the Nile. Reeds were gathered while still green. They were soaked, bent, dried beneath the sun, and woven into strong patterns that could carry grain, vegetables, folded cloth, or fresh herbs. The people who made them may never visit this temple, yet their quiet work now becomes part of the temple's daily rhythm. The keeper gently turns one basket upside down. A few tiny pieces of dried reed fall onto the floor. He brushes them away with slow strokes. Nothing feels rushed. Outside, the morning continues to awaken. The courtyard now glows beneath bright sunlight. Temple pigeons gather beside a stone basin where fresh water has been poured. Their feathers shine softly whenever they turn toward the light. They drink without hurry, then flutter upward toward carved ledges high above the entrance. Their wings create only a brief whisper of sound before silence settles once again. Far beyond the temple walls, farmers continue their steady work. The river has already become busy with narrow boats gliding across calm water. Some carry bundles of papyrus reeds. Others transport clay jars, baskets of onions, woven mats, or sacks of barley destined for nearby villages. The oars dip into the Nile with gentle rhythm. Water parts. Water closes again. Nothing disturbs the river for long. Inside the storeroom, another visitor arrives. He is an elderly gardener whose hands have grown rough after many years tending temple courtyards. His linen clothing carries the faint scent of damp soil and crushed leaves. Balanced carefully across his shoulders hangs a wooden pole. From each end hangs a basket. One basket contains fresh herbs. The other carries small bundles of flowering plants gathered before sunrise while the air remained cool. The keeper greets him with a quiet nod. Together they examine the herbs. Fresh mint. Sweet marjoram. Bundles of coriander. Dried chamomile gathered weeks before. Small branches of fragrant leaves that will later scent oils and ceremonial rooms. Each bundle is tied with simple flax cord. Nothing is extravagant. Everything has purpose. The scribe moistens the tip of his reed pen. His wrist moves with practiced grace as another careful record appears upon the papyrus. The gardener watches the neat symbols forming one after another. He cannot write them himself. Few people can. Yet he knows that each mark preserves the order of the temple just as surely as shelves preserve its supplies. When the counting is complete, the herbs are carried toward a cool corner where woven racks allow air to pass gently between the leaves. The room immediately becomes slightly more fragrant. The fresh green scent mixes with cedar wood, beeswax, dry grain, old linen, and cool stone. The combination is gentle. It belongs only to places where many quiet tasks meet together. The keeper breathes slowly. There is comfort in familiar smells. The younger worker kneels beside a row of pottery jars. Each jar has been sealed with clay and wrapped carefully with linen bands. He inspects every seal. Some are newly made. Others have remained untouched for many months. He presses gently with his thumb. No cracks. No loose edges. Everything remains secure. Nearby stands a tall shelf holding small wooden boxes. Each one contains tiny objects easily lost if care is not taken. Copper needles. Bone awls. Wax tablets. Stone weights used for measuring. Smooth pebbles used in counting. Pieces of colored glass waiting to repair decorative objects. Nothing inside these boxes would impress a visitor seeking wealth. Yet without such ordinary things, much larger work would quietly stop. The keeper knows this better than anyone. The temple depends not only upon great columns and sacred halls. It depends equally upon needles that mend cloth, rope that secures heavy doors, oil that keeps lamps burning through long evenings, clean water jars, simple bowls, fresh brooms. Every ordinary object supports another task. Every task supports another person. The morning sun climbs higher. Warmth presses steadily against the outer walls. Even inside the storeroom the air begins to change. Not hot. Only slightly warmer. The younger worker opens another narrow shutter near the ceiling. Fresh air drifts downward. It carries distant sounds from beyond the temple. Someone laughs softly. Children's voices rise briefly from the road outside before fading into the distance. A donkey brays somewhere near the market. Wooden wheels creak across packed earth. Then quiet returns. The keeper moves toward a shelf where bundles of rolled papyrus are stored. He unties one cord. Inside are several unused sheets. Smooth. Pale. Carefully prepared from layers of river reeds pressed together beneath heavy stones. He examines their edges. No insects. No dampness. He rolls them once more. The cord slips easily back into place. Everything remains ready for the next scribe who may need them. A young apprentice enters carrying 2 empty clay jars. His movements are careful, almost hesitant. He is still learning the ways of the temple. Everything here seems important. Everything must be handled correctly. He bows respectfully before speaking in a quiet voice. Fresh lamp oil is needed for one of the inner chambers. The keeper nods. He walks without hesitation toward the correct shelf. Several jars stand there. Each sealed. Each marked with dark ink. He selects one. Not the newest. Not the oldest. Simply the one whose turn has come. The clay seal is broken carefully. The rich scent of pressed oil rises gently into the room. Golden liquid catches the light as it is poured into the apprentice's containers. Not one drop spills. The apprentice thanks him softly. The keeper smiles. Soon the young man disappears once again into the winding corridors of the temple. The storeroom settles back into its familiar stillness. Dust continues drifting through narrow shafts of sunlight. The cat has returned. Now it sleeps beneath the writing table. Its breathing is slow. Its ears twitch only occasionally whenever footsteps pass nearby. The scribe stretches his fingers. Hours of writing leave them stiff. He closes his eyes briefly. Then he rolls his shoulders before returning to the growing list of supplies. His handwriting remains steady despite the passing hours. There is no need to hurry. Accuracy matters more than speed. Outside, workers repairing a section of wall pause for a drink. Large pottery jars filled with cool river water stand beneath a simple awning of woven reeds. One by one the men lift small cups. Water slips slowly down tired throats. Faces relax. Conversation remains quiet. No one wastes energy beneath the strengthening sun. Even their laughter comes gently. Soon they return to lifting stones with patient rhythm. The keeper notices that one shelf has become slightly uneven. Perhaps the wood has shifted. Perhaps the weight has settled over many years. He kneels. From a nearby box he removes several thin wooden wedges. Carefully he lifts one corner. The younger worker steadies the shelf. Together they slide a wedge beneath the support. The shelf stands level once again. No ceremony marks the repair. Only quiet satisfaction. Another small task completed before it could become a larger problem. This is how the storeroom remains peaceful. Not through grand efforts. Through countless little acts of attention. A loose cord is retied. A cracked basket is repaired. Dust is brushed away before it becomes thick. Oil is replaced before the lamps grow empty. Everything receives care while still small. The keeper has learned this lesson over many years. The temple itself seems to teach it. Nothing lasts forever. But many things last far longer when treated gently. As midday approaches, the light outside grows almost white. The courtyards shimmer. Palm trees cast short shadows. Beyond the walls, the desert stretches toward the horizon beneath waves of warm air. Travelers walking distant roads wrap linen cloth around their heads against the brightness. Merchants guide donkeys patiently between villages. Fishermen seek patches of shade whenever possible. The world grows slower beneath the heavy sun. Inside the storeroom, however, the thick walls continue their quiet work. The room remains pleasantly cool. The stone floor feels comfortable beneath bare feet. Many workers passing through linger for just a moment before stepping once more into the bright heat outside. The keeper understands. He himself remains grateful for these cool walls every summer. Soon a woman enters carrying freshly washed linen cloths. They are folded into careful squares. Each piece is clean and bright. She places them upon the table. Together they inspect every fold. Loose threads are trimmed. Small stains are set aside for another washing. The finest cloths are stacked separately for sacred purposes. The rest will become towels, wrappings, work garments, or coverings for baskets and jars. Nothing useful is ignored. The woman tells the keeper that tomorrow another group of weavers expects to arrive with additional cloth. He nods. Without speaking, he already begins thinking about which shelf will soon hold the new bundles. His mind arranges space as naturally as a farmer plans rows in a field. The scribe quietly notes tomorrow's expected delivery upon another sheet of papyrus. Even the future begins with simple writing. The smell of baking bread becomes stronger. Somewhere nearby flat loaves are being lifted from warm clay ovens. Steam rises into the dry air. Fresh grain fills the courtyards with comforting warmth. Workers passing through the halls breathe deeply. Many have been awake since long before sunrise. Their stomachs quietly remind them that the middle of the day is near. The younger worker finishes tying several sacks of barley. His shoulders ache pleasantly. Hard work has become familiar enough that discomfort no longer surprises him. He wipes sweat from his forehead with the edge of his linen garment. Then he drinks cool water from a clay cup. The water tastes faintly of the river and the pottery itself. Simple. Refreshing. Exactly what is needed. The keeper also pauses. Not because every task is finished. There are always more tasks. Instead he pauses because steady work also requires steady rest. He sits upon a low wooden stool beside the open doorway. The shade reaches almost to the courtyard. A gentle breeze passes through. It carries the scent of warm stone, flowering plants, distant river water, and fresh bread cooling on woven trays. He watches sunlight shimmer upon the paving stones. Nothing remarkable happens. A pair of temple doves walk slowly across the courtyard. A young apprentice carries folded mats. An elderly priest crosses silently toward an inner chamber. Somewhere unseen, a broom brushes softly across stone. The world continues exactly as it should. The keeper closes his eyes for only a moment. Not to sleep. Only to listen. Wind. Birds. Quiet footsteps. The scratch of a reed pen. A clay jar being lifted. The soft breathing of the cat beneath the table. These are the sounds that have accompanied nearly every day of his life. They ask for nothing. They hurry no one. They simply exist together, creating a peaceful rhythm that is easy to trust. After a few moments, he opens his eyes again. The afternoon still waits ahead, bringing new deliveries, more careful counting, gentle labor beneath the quiet protection of the ancient temple's cool stone walls. The keeper rises slowly from his wooden stool, taking one quiet breath before stepping back into the gentle dimness of the storeroom. The short pause has rested both his body and his thoughts. Outside, the sun now hangs high above the temple, filling every open courtyard with bright white light. The stone pathways almost seem to glow beneath it, and the warm air rises in slow waves from every wall and every step. Inside, the cool room remains unchanged. The lamps still burn softly, though their flames are smaller now. Sunlight entering through the narrow openings has become bright enough that only a little lamplight is needed. The golden glow settles gently upon rows of pottery jars, folded linen, baskets, and wooden shelves that have quietly watched thousands of ordinary days unfold. Nothing inside the storeroom appears hurried. The room almost seems to breathe at its own slow pace. The younger worker lifts another basket onto a shelf. He pauses to stretch his back before carefully placing a flat stone beneath one corner to keep the basket level. It is a small adjustment, but small adjustments matter here. The keeper notices. He gives a slight nod. No praise is spoken. No words are necessary. The younger man understands that the nod itself means his work has been seen. He smiles quietly and continues. Across the room, the scribe gently blows upon the fresh ink of his latest record. The tiny symbols shine for only a moment before becoming dull as they dry. He rolls the completed sheet with practiced care, ties it with a thin linen cord, and places it inside a wooden tube where many earlier records already rest. Years from now, another scribe may read these same lines. He will see only lists. Grain. Oil. Cloth. Rope. Baskets. Simple numbers written in careful order. Yet hidden inside those ordinary lists are the lives of hundreds of people. A farmer who carried barley beneath the morning sun. A weaver who spent weeks turning flax into soft linen. A fisherman who traded dried fish for temple grain. A potter shaping clay beside the river. A carpenter smoothing cedar with patient hands. Every small record quietly remembers someone. The keeper walks toward the oldest shelves in the room. The wood has darkened with age. Tiny marks left by generations of hands shine smooth where fingers have touched them countless times. The edges are rounded now. Time itself has polished them. He runs his fingertips lightly across one shelf. Dust gathers upon his skin. He wipes it away with a folded cloth. The cloth itself has likely been woven only a few miles away. Perhaps by a family whose names he will never know. Ancient life is full of quiet connections like these. One person's work gently becomes another person's comfort. One careful pair of hands helps another. Nothing stands completely alone. A small breeze slips through the high window. It carries with it the smell of warm earth from beyond the temple walls. There is also the faint sweetness of ripening dates somewhere nearby. The air shifts the hanging cords tied around several baskets. They sway only slightly. The movement is so gentle it almost goes unnoticed. The cat opens one eye. Its ears turn toward the window. Finding nothing interesting, it curls itself into an even tighter circle and returns to sleep. Outside, the kitchens are now at their busiest. Large clay ovens continue giving off gentle heat. Workers move slowly between tables made from smooth wooden planks. Flat loaves of bread are stacked inside woven trays. Fresh onions are sliced with polished copper knives. Clay bowls are filled with beans that have simmered quietly throughout the morning. Nearby, bundles of herbs gathered only hours ago are chopped into small pieces, releasing fresh scents that drift into the open air. Someone stirs a pot with slow circles. Steam rises. The smell reaches even the storeroom. The younger worker inhales deeply. His stomach reminds him that the midday meal is not far away. He glances toward the doorway. The keeper notices. Again, no words are needed. The day has its own rhythm. The meal will come when it always comes. Until then, there is still work that can be done without hurry. A pair of craftsmen enter carrying a wooden chest between them. The chest is neither large nor decorated. Its corners are reinforced with strips of copper that have darkened over the years. The men set it gently upon the floor. One kneels and lifts the lid. Inside rest several small bronze tools wrapped carefully in linen. Some are chisels. Others are fine blades. There are smooth wooden handles waiting to replace older ones worn smooth by many years of use. The keeper kneels beside the chest. He lifts each tool one by one. His hands move slowly. He checks the edges, the weight, the condition of the wrapping cloth. Nothing escapes his attention. One blade has become slightly dull. He places it into a separate basket. Another craftsman, somewhere else within the temple grounds, will sharpen it before evening. Nothing is forgotten. Nothing is ignored. Every object has its own quiet journey through many hands. The craftsmen wait patiently while the scribe records each item. They know this process well. No one complains about the careful counting. The records protect everyone. When every tool has been inspected, the chest is carried toward another shelf where it will remain until needed again. Silence returns. Only the scratching of the reed pen remains. Outside, the sunlight begins its slow journey westward. The brightest heat of the day has arrived. Very few people hurry now. Even the birds spend more time resting beneath shade than flying across the open sky. Palm leaves hardly move. The breeze has grown lazy. Across the distant fields, farmers pause beneath simple shelters woven from reeds. Clay jars filled with cool water sit beside them. Some share pieces of bread. Others eat onions with coarse salt. A few simply sit quietly, listening to insects singing among the grasses beside irrigation canals. The Nile itself seems calmer beneath the afternoon light. Its surface reflects long ribbons of brightness. Fishing boats drift near the riverbank where the current is gentle. The sound of wooden oars barely reaches the temple. It arrives only as a faint whisper carried upon warm air. Back inside the storeroom, the keeper begins one of his favorite tasks. He rearranges the folded linen. No one has instructed him to do this. It simply feels like the right day. He unfolds each piece. He shakes it gently to remove the finest dust. Then he folds it again with careful hands. The fabric slips softly through his fingers. Some cloth is coarse, meant for workers. Other pieces are smoother, woven with greater care. Each fold becomes neat. Each stack becomes even. The shelves slowly regain the quiet order that only patient attention can create. The younger worker watches for a while. Soon he begins doing the same with another pile. Without being asked, the rhythm spreads naturally from one person to another. There is comfort in shared work. Neither man speaks. Conversation would not improve the task. The room itself almost encourages silence. Only cloth moving against cloth creates the faintest sound. The cat wakes once more. It stretches slowly. Front paws first. Then its back arches gently before it steps toward the doorway. There it pauses. Bright sunlight fills the courtyard beyond. The warmth seems almost too great. The cat changes its mind and returns to the cool stone floor inside. It settles beside one of the large grain jars where the shadow remains deep. The keeper smiles to himself. Even the animals know where comfort can be found during the hottest hours. A young water carrier appears carrying 2 clay jars suspended from a wooden yoke across his shoulders. Drops of cool water cling to the outside of the pottery. The jars have been drawn fresh from a shaded well. The water inside is pleasantly cool. He pours several cups. The keeper drinks slowly. The younger worker does the same. The scribe sets down his pen for a few moments to enjoy the refreshing drink. No one gulps. The cool water deserves to be appreciated. The clay cup feels smooth against tired hands. The taste is clean. Simple. Quietly satisfying. The water carrier smiles politely before continuing through the temple, bringing relief to many others whose work continues beneath the afternoon sun. As the hours pass, the storeroom becomes even quieter. Most deliveries have already been completed. The shelves now hold everything that arrived during the morning. The lists have been written. The baskets stacked. The ropes coiled. The tools inspected. The linen folded. There is still work, but it has become gentler now. More about watching than moving. More about preserving than carrying. The keeper walks one final slow circle around the room. He stops before each shelf. His eyes notice tiny things that others might never see. A basket leaning slightly. A lid not fully seated. A loose knot. A folded cloth whose edge has slipped. One by one, he makes tiny corrections. Each movement takes only seconds. Yet together they keep the room peaceful. He understands something that cannot easily be written on papyrus. Order does not appear all at once. It grows from many small acts repeated every day. Outside, somewhere beyond the temple walls, children laugh as they splash their feet in the shallow edge of an irrigation canal while helping their families. Their voices drip faintly upon the warm air before disappearing. A shepherd guides goats toward a patch of shade. Merchants lower woven awnings across market stalls to soften the afternoon light. A potter turns his wheel more slowly now, waiting for the day to cool. Life across Egypt continues in its steady rhythm. Yet inside the storeroom, time feels almost suspended. The thick stone walls seem to hold back not only the heat but also the hurry of the outside world. The keeper places both hands upon the old wooden table. He looks around the room with quiet satisfaction. Nothing is perfect. One shelf still bears an old crack. Several jars carry faded markings. The stone floor has shallow grooves worn by countless sandals. The walls themselves show tiny marks left by centuries of use. But perfection has never been the purpose. Care has always been enough. And today, like yesterday, care has quietly filled every corner of this peaceful room. The afternoon light begins, almost too slowly to notice, to soften ever so slightly as the long ancient day continues its gentle journey toward evening. The afternoon settles gently over the temple like a warm linen cloth laid carefully across resting shoulders. The brightest light has begun to soften, though the heat still lingers upon the courtyards and stone walls. Shadows, almost unnoticed, become a little longer with each passing moment. Inside the storeroom, the air remains calm. The thick limestone walls continue their quiet work, keeping the room cooler than the open spaces outside. The scent of cedar, linen, beeswax, dried herbs, and old pottery has become so familiar that the workers hardly notice it anymore. Yet if a traveler were to step inside for the first time, the room would seem to carry the peaceful fragrance of many years carefully preserved. The keeper moves toward a low shelf near the back wall. Upon it stand dozens of small clay jars, each no taller than his hand. Some contain powdered minerals used for pigments. Others hold fragrant resins gathered from distant lands. A few contain precious oils that are used only a little at a time. Each jar has its own place. Each lid fits only one vessel perfectly. The keeper removes one lid. He looks inside. The resin still glows softly in the dim light, golden and slightly translucent. Its sweet scent rises gently into the room. He replaces the lid with great care. Nothing more needs to be done. Sometimes the work is simply making certain that everything remains exactly as it should. The younger worker has begun repairing several woven baskets that have slowly weakened over months of use. He sits upon a simple stool near the doorway where the light is strongest. Beside him rests a bundle of fresh reeds that were soaked in water earlier in the day. The damp fibers bend easily beneath his fingers. He carefully slides new reeds through the older weaving. Over. under, over, under. The pattern grows slowly. There is no hurry. A basket repaired with patience may serve for many more seasons. The rhythm of weaving becomes almost musical. The soft scrape of reed against reed repeats again and again. The keeper hears it without truly listening. It has become part of the room itself. Nearby, the scribe has begun organizing the day's records. Instead of writing new entries, he now compares each list with those from earlier weeks. His finger moves slowly down long columns of careful symbols. He notices that one delivery of barley was slightly smaller than expected. Another shipment of lamp oil arrived earlier than usual. He makes a neat note in the margin. Not because there is cause for concern. Only because complete records help tomorrow become easier. The temple remembers through writing. Just as people remember through habit. Outside, a faint breeze begins to return. It arrives first among the tops of the palm trees beside the Nile. The long leaves whisper together. A few dry fronds fall quietly onto the dusty ground. Children gathering water from the river pause for a moment, enjoying the coolness against their faces before lifting their clay jars once again. Along the riverbank, fishermen have begun preparing their nets for the evening. The brightest part of the day is passing. Soon the water will grow cooler. The fish will move differently. Everything has its proper time. The keeper understands this well. He has learned to work with the rhythm of the sun rather than against it. Morning belongs to receiving. Midday belongs to organizing. Afternoon belongs to quiet care. Evening will belong to preparing for tomorrow. Each hour carries its own gentle purpose. A temple servant enters carrying a bundle wrapped in plain linen. She places it upon the table. Inside are several small oil lamps collected from different rooms. Some have burned almost empty. Others carry hardened drops of old oil around their rims. One has a tiny crack near its base. The keeper examines each one. He cleans the soot from the edges with a soft cloth. The cracked lamp is placed aside. Perhaps it can still be repaired. If not, the clay may one day be broken apart and mixed into new pottery. Very little is truly discarded. The servant thanks him quietly before returning to her duties. The room falls silent once more. Only the sound of cloth rubbing against clay remains. The cat has awakened again. This time it wanders with slow curiosity between the shelves. Its nose twitches as it passes sacks of grain. It pauses beside a basket of dried onions. Apparently unimpressed, it continues toward the herb shelves. There it stops. A small lizard clings motionless to the cool stone wall. The cat watches. The lizard watches. Neither moves. After several long moments, the cat loses interest and walks away with calm dignity, as though the encounter had never happened. The keeper notices the tiny scene and smiles softly. Even within these ancient walls, life continues in quiet little moments that leave no record upon papyrus. The younger worker finishes repairing the final basket. He brushes loose reeds from his lap. The basket feels firm once more. He gently presses its sides. Satisfied, he carries it toward its place on the shelf. The keeper checks the repair with experienced hands. Strong. Even. Neat. Another small nod. Another shared understanding. The younger worker feels a quiet pride that needs no spoken praise. Sunlight now reaches farther into the storeroom than it did earlier. The bright strip across the floor has slowly shifted from one wall toward another. Dust floats through the light like tiny grains of gold. Each particle rises and falls so slowly that it almost seems suspended. The scribe pauses to watch them. For just a moment, he allows his eyes to rest. Long hours spent reading fine symbols have tired them. He blinks several times. Beyond the doorway, a pair of swallows dart through the courtyard, catching insects that dance in the warm afternoon air. Their wings flash quickly through the sunlight before disappearing beyond the columns. Their speed feels almost surprising in a place where everything else moves with such gentle patience. Yet even they are soon gone. Quiet returns. The keeper kneels before one of the largest grain jars in the room. Its rounded sides have been smoothed by many careful hands over many years. He taps the side gently with his knuckles. The sound is deep. Full. He lifts the lid just enough to look inside. The barley remains perfectly dry. No insects. No dampness. The grain carries the faint warm scent of summer fields. He remembers, for a brief moment, watching farmers harvesting beneath the blazing sun many weeks ago. Rows of workers moved slowly across the fields with sickles in their hands. Children gathered loose stalks. Women tied bundles with flax cord. The grain now resting safely inside this jar carries with it all of those quiet hours beneath the open sky. Every loaf of bread begins long before it reaches the oven. The keeper closes the lid again. His thoughts return to the present. The afternoon continues. A carpenter arrives carrying several newly carved wooden handles. Fresh cedar fills the air with its pleasant scent. The handles are smooth but unfinished. Soon they will replace older ones on tools that have become worn through years of use. The keeper inspects each piece. The carpenter waits patiently. Together they fit one handle into an old bronze blade. The wood slides into place perfectly. The balance feels right. The tool has quietly been given another life. The carpenter wraps the remaining handles in linen before placing them upon a shelf reserved for future repairs. He wipes fine sawdust from his hands. Then he departs without ceremony. Beyond the temple walls, merchants begin preparing for the cooler hours ahead. Canvas coverings are adjusted. Clay cups are washed. Dates, figs, onions, garlic, and fresh bread are arranged neatly upon wooden tables. Soon travelers returning from nearby villages will pass through the market. Business will continue calmly until sunset. Along the river, women rinse woven baskets in shallow water. Children help gather reeds that floated loose during the morning. An old fisherman patiently repairs a torn section of net while sitting beneath the shade of a sycamore tree. Nearby, his grandson watches every movement, slowly learning the careful pattern of knots that cannot be hurried. Everywhere across Egypt, knowledge passes quietly from one pair of hands to another. Inside the storeroom, the same quiet teaching continues. The younger worker asks a simple question. He wonders why certain jars stand upon the lower shelves while others remain higher. The keeper answers slowly. The heavier jars rest below because lifting them high would risk breaking them. The oils remain above because they must stay away from dampness near the floor. The herbs are placed where air moves gently. The linen stays where insects are least likely to reach it. Nothing has been arranged by chance. Every shelf reflects years of patient learning. The younger worker nods thoughtfully. He looks around the room with new understanding. What once seemed like ordinary order now reveals quiet wisdom. The keeper notices the expression on his face. He remembers having asked similar questions many years ago. Another keeper, older than himself, had answered with the same calm patience. Those words have traveled across generations without changing very much. Knowledge does not always need grand books. Sometimes it lives in simple conversations beside shelves filled with clay jars. The afternoon light grows warmer. Instead of bright white, it begins to carry hints of soft gold. The stone floor reflects a gentle glow. The cat stretches once more and finally wanders outside into the courtyard, where patches of shade have grown larger beneath the temple columns. A few workers preparing the evening lamps pass quietly by the doorway. One carries fresh wicks. Another balances a basket filled with small jars of clean oil. They exchange friendly greetings with the keeper before continuing deeper into the temple. Soon every sacred room will be gently illuminated once again. As the keeper watches them disappear into the long corridor, he realizes that another peaceful day is slowly leaning toward evening. There is still much to do before darkness returns, but there is no sense of urgency. Only the comforting knowledge that every small task, completed with steady hands and a quiet heart, will help tomorrow begin just as gently as today began, within the cool silence of the ancient temple storeroom. The afternoon slowly begins to loosen its grip upon the temple. The fierce brightness that covered every stone only a short while ago becomes softer now. The sunlight still fills the courtyards, but it no longer feels sharp. Instead, it spreads across the limestone like warm honey poured over smooth rock, touching every carved wall and every quiet column before drifting gently toward the western horizon. Inside the storeroom, very little changes. The room has always followed its own quiet rhythm. Its shelves remain steady. Its jars remain patient. Its baskets wait exactly where they have been placed. Even the air seems to move more slowly here than anywhere else within the temple. The keeper stands beside the doorway for a long moment. He does not leave. He simply watches. From this place he can see a narrow piece of the courtyard outside. A pair of young apprentices crosses the stone pavement carrying folded reed mats upon their shoulders. Their sandals make a gentle brushing sound against the worn limestone. Neither speaks very much. The heat of the afternoon encourages quiet voices and slow movements. A little farther away, an elderly woman sweeps the courtyard. Her reed broom glides across the stone with long, patient strokes. Dust gathers into small lines before disappearing into a woven basket. She has likely performed this same task for many years. Perhaps decades. The courtyard never stays clean for very long. Wind always returns. Sand always finds another path. Still, every afternoon she sweeps. Not because the work will last forever, but because it matters today. The keeper understands this kind of work. Much of his own labor is the same. Shelves must always be checked. Records must always be written. Jars must always be inspected. Tomorrow the work will begin again. There is comfort in that thought. The younger worker walks toward the rear of the storeroom carrying a small clay bowl filled with beeswax. He kneels beside several wooden lids whose edges have become dry after years of opening and closing. With a soft cloth, he rubs a thin layer of wax into the wood. The cedar slowly grows richer in color. Tiny scratches become less visible. The wood seems almost grateful for the care. A pleasant scent rises into the cool air. It mixes with the fragrance of herbs and old linen until the room feels even warmer, though the temperature has not changed. The keeper watches quietly. Years ago, someone taught him this same task. They explained that dry wood cracks more easily. A little wax today may save a lid many years from now. Simple wisdom often asks only for patience. The younger worker finishes one lid before beginning another. His movements have become slower than they were this morning. Not because he is tired alone. The entire day has slowed. Even his breathing follows the peaceful rhythm of the temple. Across the room, the scribe unties another bundle of older records. These papyrus rolls are darker than the fresh ones written today. Time has gently changed their color. Their edges have curled slightly after many seasons. The linen cords holding them together have softened from years of careful handling. The scribe chooses one roll. He unrolls it only a little. The neat symbols appear exactly as they were written years ago. Another keeper. Another harvest. Another ordinary day long forgotten by nearly everyone. Yet here it remains. Grain counted. Oil measured. Cloth received. Rope distributed. Simple records. Quiet lives. He smiles softly. Many people believe history belongs only to rulers. But the scribe knows differently. History also lives inside lists. It lives inside inventories. Inside careful handwriting. Inside records of bread, onions, lamp oil, and woven baskets. These humble pages quietly remember people whose names are spoken no more. He rolls the papyrus closed once again. The room becomes still. A small breeze enters through the high opening near the ceiling. This breeze carries a different scent now. The warmth of the afternoon has awakened the smell of sunlit stone. There is also the faint sweetness of ripening figs from gardens somewhere beyond the temple walls. Perhaps a nearby family has begun gathering fruit beneath broad green leaves. Perhaps children are climbing low branches while older relatives wait below with woven baskets. The keeper imagines the scene for only a moment. Then his thoughts return gently to the shelves before him. Another worker arrives carrying several coils of rope. The rope has been twisted from flax fibers. It feels rough but strong. Some coils are thick enough to lift heavy stone blocks. Others are thin, meant for tying baskets or securing wooden lids. The keeper checks each coil carefully. He stretches one slightly between his hands. The fibers hold firm. No weak places. No broken strands. Satisfied, he hangs them upon smooth wooden pegs driven into the wall. They rest there in neat circles like quiet sleeping snakes. Nearby, a small clay lamp flickers gently. Its flame dances only when the breeze reaches it. The younger worker notices that the wick has grown short. He trims it carefully with a tiny bronze blade. The flame immediately becomes steadier, brighter, cleaner. Another tiny task completed before it became a larger one. Outside, temple pigeons gather once again beside the water basin. This time they linger longer. The stone around the basin has begun cooling beneath the lengthening shadows. Several birds bathe. They flutter their wings. Droplets of water sparkle briefly in the sunlight before disappearing upon the warm ground. A little boy carrying a bundle of reeds pauses to watch them. He smiles. Then continues quietly toward another part of the temple. The afternoon stretches onward. Time feels wonderfully unhurried. The keeper decides it is the right moment to inspect the woven shelves near the north wall. Unlike the wooden shelves, these have been built using strong reed panels supported by sturdy beams. They allow air to pass freely around delicate herbs. He gently lifts several bundles. Chamomile. Mint. Coriander. Lotus petals drying slowly. Everything smells fresh despite the dry air. He turns each bundle slightly. Just enough so every side receives the same gentle movement of air. No leaf should trap hidden moisture. Small actions preserve many months of careful work. As he reaches for another bundle, he notices something resting quietly beside it. A tiny feather. Gray with a narrow white edge. Perhaps it drifted from one of the pigeons outside. Perhaps it entered through the high window carried by the morning breeze. The keeper picks it up. For a moment he studies its delicate shape. Then he places it outside upon the windowsill where the next breeze may carry it onward. The room returns to silence. The younger worker has begun polishing several bronze measuring weights. He uses fine sand mixed with a little oil. His cloth moves in slow circles. Bit by bit the dull metal begins catching the warm afternoon light. Not brightly. Only softly. Enough to reveal the smooth craftsmanship left by the metal worker many years before. The keeper joins him. Together they polish without speaking. Two pairs of hands moving at nearly the same pace. Neither leading. Neither following. Simply sharing the work. Their breathing becomes another quiet rhythm inside the storeroom. Far beyond the temple walls, the Nile continues its endless journey northward. Boats move slowly with the current. Some sails have been raised where the breeze allows. Others rely upon patient rowers. The river reflects the changing color of the afternoon sky. Blue slowly softens toward pale gold. Reeds along the banks bend gently whenever the wind passes through. White birds stand motionless in the shallows, waiting with endless patience for fish to swim close enough. Everything beside the river seems to understand that there is no reason to hurry. The temple itself seems to share that understanding. A priest walks silently across the courtyard carrying fresh incense. A pair of builders carefully gathers tools left from the morning's repairs. A gardener waters young trees whose leaves droop beneath the heat. Water darkens the dry earth. The smell of damp soil rises pleasantly into the air. The first hint of evening freshness begins to appear. Inside the storeroom, the keeper notices the changing light. The sunlight entering through the doorway has become warmer. It paints the edges of clay jars with soft amber color. Long shadows stretch quietly beneath the shelves. The room feels almost dreamlike now. The scribe closes his writing case. His work for the moment is complete. He gently washes the tip of his reed pen in a small bowl of clean water. The black ink slowly disappears into the water like drifting smoke. He dries the pen with a folded cloth before placing it carefully inside its wooden case. He has treated this pen well for many seasons. It has written thousands upon thousands of symbols. Its reed has been trimmed many times. Still, it serves faithfully. Like nearly everything inside the storeroom, it continues because someone has cared for it. The younger worker walks outside carrying a small basket of worn cloths that will be washed before tomorrow. When he returns a few moments later, he brings with him a breath of cooler air. The difference is slight, but noticeable. The heat is beginning to ease. The keeper inhales slowly. Even after countless summers, the arrival of cooler evening air always feels like a quiet gift. He walks once more through the room. Every shelf. Every jar. Every basket. Not because he expects to discover problems, but because this final afternoon walk has become part of the day's gentle ritual. His eyes pass over familiar objects that have become almost like old friends. The tall grain jars standing patiently in their rows. The folded linens resting neatly upon polished wood. The ropes hanging in quiet circles. The herbs releasing their gentle fragrance. The bronze tools waiting for tomorrow's work. The humble lamps that will soon bring warm light into darkened chambers. Nothing asks for attention. Everything simply waits. Outside, somewhere beyond the temple, a dove begins its slow evening call. The sound drifts through the warm air, echoing softly between ancient stone walls before fading into silence again. The keeper pauses to listen. He knows that before long, workers will begin preparing for sunset. Lamps will be filled. Doors will be checked. Courtyards will empty. The temple will gradually exchange the bright light of day for the peaceful glow of evening flame. For now, however, the quiet storeroom remains suspended in one of the calmest hours of the day, when the sun still lingers above the horizon, the air begins to cool, and every ordinary object rests peacefully in its proper place, waiting with endless patience for whatever tomorrow may gently bring. The light continues to soften. No one inside the temple notices the exact moment when afternoon begins to become evening. There is no bell, no loud announcement, no sudden change in the sky. Instead, the brightness simply grows warmer, one quiet breath at a time. The keeper stands beside the doorway and watches the sunlight move across the courtyard. Earlier, it rested high upon the walls. Now it touches only the lower stones. The great columns cast long shadows that stretch slowly across the smooth pavement like calm rivers flowing without sound. A swallow glides between them. Its wings catch the golden light for only a heartbeat before it disappears beyond the temple gate. The air has changed as well. The heavy warmth remains, but it has become gentler. The breeze that comes from the direction of the Nile carries coolness hidden within it. It slips through the narrow passages of the temple, around carved pillars, beneath wooden doors, and finally into the quiet storeroom. The hanging bundles of herbs sway almost too gently to notice. The keeper smiles. Even after all these years, the evening breeze still feels like an old friend arriving at the same hour every day. He walks toward a row of clay water jars resting near the entrance. The outside of each jar feels pleasantly cool beneath his hands. Tiny drops of moisture have formed upon the surface where the water inside slowly cools through the porous clay. He lifts a small cup. The water tastes fresh. There is the faint flavor of the river. There is the clean scent of the clay itself. He drinks slowly, never wasting a drop. When he finishes, he pours another cup for the younger worker. The younger man thanks him with a quiet smile. For a few moments they stand together in comfortable silence. No conversation is needed. The sounds around them are enough. Somewhere outside, sandals brush across stone. A distant donkey lets out a lazy call from beyond the temple wall. Palm leaves whisper together. The steady scratching of insects has begun among the gardens. Far away, someone is singing while working. The song is too distant for words to be understood. Only its gentle rhythm reaches the temple. The scribe has begun placing the completed records into a cedar chest reserved for the current season. Each scroll is tied with fresh linen. Each bundle is arranged neatly beside the others. There is no empty space. No disorder. He knows exactly where tomorrow's records will rest. The chest itself is not decorated. Its beauty comes from usefulness. The cedar still carries a pleasant scent whenever the lid is lifted. The fragrance has become slightly softer over the years, but it has never completely disappeared. The scribe closes the lid. His hands remain upon it for a moment. Inside rests another ordinary day. Many years from now, someone may unroll today's records and discover nothing more exciting than lists of grain, lamp oil, cloth, rope, herbs, baskets, and tools. Yet those simple lists quietly prove that life continued peacefully here. People worked. People baked bread. People repaired sandals. People gathered herbs. People counted jars. History often survives because someone cared enough to write down ordinary things. The younger worker now begins another gentle task. He carries a soft cloth from shelf to shelf, wiping away the thin layer of dust that has settled since sunrise. Dust never truly disappears in Egypt. The desert always sends more. Fine grains ride every breeze. They slip beneath doors. They settle upon shelves. They hide inside carved patterns in the stone. Every evening they are brushed away. Every morning they begin returning. It is a quiet conversation between people and the desert that never ends. The keeper joins him. Together they move through the room. One wipes the upper shelves. The other dusts the lower ones. The cloths glide over polished wood. Tiny clouds rise into the warm light before drifting back toward the floor. When the last shelf is clean, they shake the cloths gently outside the doorway. The wind immediately carries the dust away. Perhaps tomorrow some of those same grains will return. Neither man minds. The work itself brings satisfaction. Near the rear wall stands a row of sealed pottery jars containing dried beans. The keeper decides to inspect them one more time before evening. He taps each lid gently. One. Then another. Then another. Each answers with the same solid sound. Everything remains dry. Everything remains secure. A small spider has stretched a delicate web between two unused baskets resting high upon a shelf. The web catches the warm light beautifully. Its thin threads glow almost like fine silver. The keeper notices it. He pauses. The spider sits quietly near the center. It has harmed nothing. Its web occupies a place no one needs. The keeper smiles softly and leaves it undisturbed. There is room within the temple even for tiny lives. Outside, the gardeners begin watering the inner courtyards. Clay jars tip slowly. Water pours gently around the roots of young fig trees and flowering shrubs. The dry earth drinks eagerly. Soon the pleasant scent of damp soil rises into the evening air. It drifts through the open doorway and into the storeroom. The smell reminds the keeper of the first days after the Nile flood begins to retreat each year. Fresh mud. Wet reeds. New planting. The promise of another harvest. Every familiar scent carries old memories. He closes his eyes for only a moment, breathing deeply. When he opens them again, the room feels even quieter than before. The cat returns from the courtyard. Its fur has gathered a little dust from wandering beneath the columns. It pauses beside the water jar. The younger worker kneels and pours a little water into a shallow clay dish. The cat drinks with tiny careful laps. When it has finished, it rubs gently against his ankle before settling beside the doorway where the evening breeze is strongest. Its eyes grow half-closed. Its ears remain alert. The temple has become its home just as surely as it has become home for the people who work here. A pair of elderly craftsmen enters carrying several worn wooden stools. One leg has loosened on each. They ask if spare pegs remain in storage. The keeper nods. He walks directly to a small wooden box resting upon the third shelf. Inside lie dozens of carefully carved pegs sorted by size. Some are new. Others were shaped many months ago. He selects exactly the right ones. The craftsmen thank him quietly. One of them laughs softly as he says these tiny pegs often save entire stools. The keeper nods again. Little things often support much larger things. The craftsmen leave. The storeroom returns to stillness. The younger worker thinks about those words. Little things often support much larger things. He looks around the room. The tiny pegs. The coils of thread. The beeswax. The lamp wicks. The spare handles. The measuring stones. Each seems so small. Yet together they allow hundreds of larger tasks to happen. Without them, carts cannot be repaired. Lamps cannot burn. Shelves cannot remain strong. Doors cannot close properly. The temple depends upon countless humble objects hidden away inside this quiet room. He begins to understand why the keeper cares so deeply for every shelf. The western sky continues changing. Though it cannot be seen directly from inside the storeroom, its colors reveal themselves through the doorway. The bright white sunlight has become rich gold. Soon touches of amber begin to appear. The limestone walls seem almost to glow from within. Carved figures along the courtyard take on new depth as long shadows settle into every line cut by ancient stone workers. The temple appears older in this light. Softer. More peaceful. The keeper lights one additional oil lamp. Not because darkness has arrived. Only because he knows it soon will. The tiny flame grows steadily. Its warm glow joins the fading sunlight. For a little while both kinds of light share the room together. The sun offers its last gentle warmth. The lamp offers the promise of evening. The scribe gathers his writing tools into their case. He checks each reed pen. One has become too short after many careful sharpenings. He places it aside. Tomorrow it will become kindling for a kitchen fire. Nothing useful is wasted. Even a worn pen finishes its life by giving warmth. He selects a fresh reed from a bundle waiting nearby. With a small bronze knife, he trims the tip slowly. One careful cut. Then another. He tests it upon a scrap of papyrus. The line is smooth. Satisfied, he smiles. Tomorrow's writing has already begun, even though today has not yet ended. The younger worker begins rolling up several woven floor mats used during the busiest hours of the day. Dust is brushed away. Edges are straightened. Each mat is tied with a linen cord before being placed neatly against the wall. The floor beneath them feels wonderfully cool beneath bare feet. Stone that has rested in shade all day keeps the memory of morning within it. The keeper walks one last slow circle through the storeroom before the evening duties begin in earnest. His footsteps are unhurried. His eyes move from shelf to shelf. Every basket is where it belongs. Every jar stands securely. Every tool rests quietly in its proper place. The room seems almost grateful for the care it has received throughout the long day. Outside, the evening birds begin calling to one another as they settle among the palms beside the Nile. Their songs drip gently across the water, through the temple gardens, over the warm stone walls, and into the peaceful silence of the ancient temple storeroom, where another quiet hour waits to unfold beneath the slowly fading light. The first touch of evening settles quietly across the temple. It does not arrive with darkness. Instead, it comes with a feeling. The air grows lighter. The heat that rested upon the stone all afternoon begins to release itself into the open sky. The warm breeze carries the scent of sunlit limestone, river reeds, flowering shrubs, and fresh bread that has long since cooled upon woven trays. The keeper notices these changes without thinking about them. His body has learned the rhythm of the day through many years of quiet work. Long before the sky changes color, he already knows that evening has begun. The lamps inside the storeroom now become more important than the sunlight. One by one, their soft flames create warm circles of light upon the shelves. The shadows between the rows of jars deepen. Clay vessels that seemed ordinary only an hour ago now appear almost peaceful, their rounded shapes glowing gently beneath the steady light. Nothing feels mysterious. Nothing feels hidden. Only calm. The younger worker carries a small wooden ladder toward the tallest shelves. Its legs have become smooth after many years of use. He places it carefully against the wall. Before climbing, he presses gently upon each step, making certain everything feels secure. The keeper watches with quiet approval. There is never a reason to hurry when climbing among heavy jars. The younger worker ascends slowly. At the very top shelf rests a collection of empty storage baskets. They are clean, dry, ready for another harvest whenever the time comes. He removes each one. A soft cloth brushes away the fine layer of dust that gathered throughout the season. The woven reeds still smell faintly of the marshes where they first grew. The scent is gentle, almost sweet. He stacks the baskets neatly once more before climbing back down. The ladder makes only the smallest sound against the stone floor. Nearby, the scribe opens the cedar chest one final time. He wishes to make certain that every scroll rests exactly where it belongs. His fingers move carefully over the smooth rolls of papyrus. Each one represents an ordinary day. No two are exactly alike. One speaks of a larger barley delivery. Another records extra linen. Another mentions new pottery from a nearby village. Together they form a quiet memory of the temple's life. The scribe sometimes wonders whether anyone far in the future will read these records. Perhaps they will. Perhaps they will not. Either way, today's work has been done with care. That is enough. Outside, the gardeners have nearly finished watering the temple grounds. The dry earth has darkened wherever the water has touched it. Tiny pools gather briefly around the roots of young trees before disappearing into the thirsty soil. The smell of damp earth becomes richer now. It drifts into the storeroom. The keeper pauses beside the doorway to enjoy it. It reminds him of childhood. He grew up not far from the river. His family's small field depended upon the yearly flood. As a boy, he often walked barefoot across soft mud after the waters had begun to retreat. His feet would sink gently into the cool earth. His father would already be planning where barley and flax would soon be planted. Those mornings feel distant now. Many years have passed. Yet the scent of wet soil still carries those quiet memories without effort. He smiles softly. Not with sadness. Simply with gratitude. The younger worker notices the keeper looking toward the courtyard. For a moment he wonders what the older man is thinking. Then he returns to his own task. Some thoughts are best left undisturbed. Near the center of the room stands a broad wooden table. Its surface has become worn smooth from years of careful work. Countless baskets have rested upon it. Thousands of jars have been inspected there. Cloth has been folded. Tools examined. Records written. The edges bear tiny marks left by knives, pottery, and wooden boxes. Each mark tells of another ordinary day. The keeper runs a folded cloth across the tabletop. Not because it is dirty. Simply because evening is the proper time. The cloth glides silently. The grain of the cedar catches the warm lamplight. For a brief moment the table almost seems alive with quiet warmth. The cat has found a new resting place. It now sleeps upon an empty reed mat near the north wall. One paw stretches lazily across its face. Its breathing is slow and even. Now and then one ear twitches as insects begin their evening songs outside. The sounds are soft enough to blend into the silence rather than disturb it. The younger worker begins preparing several empty jars for tomorrow. Each is washed with cool water. The inside is wiped carefully with clean linen. Then the jars are turned upside down upon a wooden rack to dry overnight. Drops of water cling briefly to the rims before falling gently onto the stone floor below. Tiny pools form. Soon they disappear into the warm air. Nothing remains except the faint clean scent of fresh water. The keeper inspects the drying rack. Every jar has enough space between it and the next. Air must move freely. Crowded jars trap moisture. Moisture invites trouble. Little lessons like these have guided his work for decades. Most visitors would never notice them. Yet they are part of the quiet wisdom that keeps the storeroom healthy year after year. From somewhere deep within the temple comes the low sound of a wooden door closing. Then another. The evening routines have begun. Rooms used during the day are being secured. Courtyards are becoming quieter. The footsteps that pass outside the storeroom grow fewer with every passing moment. Many workers have already finished their duties. Some are walking home toward nearby villages. Others remain inside the temple to continue evening responsibilities. The keeper thinks briefly of the families gathering for supper. Children washing dusty feet before entering small mud brick homes. Flat bread being divided among brothers and sisters. Clay bowls filled with beans. Fresh onions. Dates for sweetness. Perhaps a little fish from the river if the catch was good. Simple meals. Simple conversations. The day's work slowly giving way to the comfort of night. He has shared many such evenings himself. Though his work keeps him at the temple a little longer than most, he never minds. The quiet hours have always been his favorite. The younger worker carries several small oil jars toward the lamp shelf. One by one he refills each lamp. The golden oil flows slowly. Its surface catches the flickering flame. Fresh wicks are trimmed. Old ashes brushed away. Every lamp is prepared long before it is needed. When darkness finally arrives, no one will need to rush. The light will already be waiting. The keeper watches carefully. The younger man's hands have become steadier since the morning. His movements now resemble those of someone who has repeated these tasks many times. Learning often happens quietly. One careful day after another. Outside, the sky begins showing the first hints of evening color. Though the storeroom cannot see the horizon directly, warm amber light reflects from the temple walls. The limestone seems almost golden now. The carved figures upon the columns become softer. Their long shadows stretch across the courtyards until they nearly touch one another. The air cools another little measure. Someone nearby lights incense. A gentle fragrance of resin and herbs drifts slowly through the passageways. It mingles with the smell of lamp oil, cedar wood, and drying linen inside the storeroom. The combination feels peaceful, ancient, comforting. The scribe quietly clears the last of his workspace. The ink jar is sealed. The writing board is wrapped in linen. The small knife used for trimming reed pens is returned to its place inside the wooden case. Nothing is left upon the table unnecessarily. Every object returns home before the day ends. The keeper believes this helps tomorrow begin with calm hearts. There is no searching. No confusion. Only quiet order waiting with the sunrise. A tiny gecko appears upon the wall near one of the lamps. It pauses beside the warm stone, watching small insects drawn toward the flame. With astonishing patience it remains perfectly still. Then, almost too quickly to see, it catches a tiny moth before returning to complete stillness. The younger worker notices and smiles. The temple has many silent helpers. Cats protect the grain. Geckos protect the lamps. Spiders catch insects in forgotten corners. Each little creature quietly plays its part. The keeper opens one narrow shutter high upon the wall. The evening breeze enters more freely now. The lamps flicker gently before becoming steady once again. The cool air moves across the shelves, over the jars, through the hanging herbs, and finally across the smooth stone floor. The entire room seems to sigh with quiet relief after the long heat of the day. For several moments no one speaks. There is nothing that needs saying. The sounds of evening are enough. Palm leaves rustling beyond the walls. The distant murmur of the Nile flowing steadily toward the sea. Birds settling for the night among the reeds. Soft footsteps fading into the temple's deeper halls. The gentle breathing of the sleeping cat. The tiny crackle of lamp flames. The peaceful silence between every sound. The keeper closes his eyes for only a moment. He listens. This is the hour he has always loved most. Not because the work is finished. There is still a little more to do. But because the temple itself seems to breathe more slowly now, settling into the calm embrace of another ancient evening, while the quiet storeroom waits faithfully beneath its warm circle of lamplight, ready to welcome whatever gentle tasks tomorrow's sunrise will bring. Evening settles more deeply across the temple. The bright gold of the late afternoon slowly fades into softer shades of amber, then into the gentle blue of approaching twilight. The last warmth of the day lingers inside the limestone walls, while outside the desert begins releasing the heat it has quietly gathered beneath the sun. The keeper notices the change through the light alone. The doorway no longer shines. Instead, the courtyard beyond has become a peaceful place of long shadows and glowing stone. The carved columns stand like old companions resting after another faithful day. Their shapes are softened by the fading light, and every carved line seems gentler than it did beneath the afternoon sun. Inside the storeroom, the oil lamps now provide most of the light. Their small flames dance with quiet confidence. The light is never harsh. It settles softly upon shelves, woven baskets, clay jars, and folded linen, leaving the corners of the room comfortably dim. The keeper has always liked this hour. During daylight he works mostly with his hands. Now he works more with his eyes. The gentle lamplight reveals small details that bright sunlight often hides. A tiny crack in a wooden handle. A loose thread on a folded cloth. A basket whose reeds have begun to dry. A knot that could be tied more neatly. The room almost whispers these little things to him. He listens patiently. The younger worker carries a bundle of fresh flax cord toward the work table. He unties it carefully. The fibers are pale and clean, twisted together with remarkable skill. He separates the bundle into smaller coils. Each coil is tied with a simple loop. Each is placed inside a shallow basket where tomorrow's workers can reach it easily. The task is simple. Almost quiet enough to disappear into the room itself. Nearby, the scribe sits for a few peaceful moments before leaving for the evening. His writing has ended. His records are complete. There is nothing left to count today. Instead of hurrying away, he simply watches the lamps. The small flames sway gently whenever the breeze slips through the high window. Their light reminds him of stars reflected upon calm river water. He smiles at the thought. The Nile must be beautiful now. By this hour the surface of the river often becomes wonderfully still. Boats returning home move almost silently through the fading light. The first evening birds skim low across the water searching for insects. Fishermen pull in their final nets with slow, practiced movements. Children who spent the day helping their families now walk beside parents carrying empty baskets and clay jars. The river gathers every part of the day into its quiet current. The keeper imagines these familiar scenes while arranging several wooden bowls upon a lower shelf. He has seen them countless times. Even when he cannot visit the river himself, he knows its rhythm well. It is woven into every part of temple life. The grain stored in these jars came from fields nourished by the Nile. The flax that became linen grew because of its yearly flood. The reeds that formed these baskets once swayed along its banks. Even the clay used to shape many of these pots was gathered from its rich soil. The river quietly lives inside this room. Its gifts surround him on every shelf. The younger worker notices one basket leaning slightly. He removes everything inside. Only a few folded cloths and several bundles of herbs. He adjusts the woven base. One of the supporting reeds has become bent. With gentle pressure he straightens it. Then he returns the contents. The basket stands perfectly once more. The keeper watches from across the room. Another quiet lesson has taken root. Problems are easiest to solve while they are still small. Outside, a pair of temple attendants passes through the courtyard carrying long wooden poles. Small lamps hang from hooks at either end. One by one they light the lamps that line the evening walkways. Warm points of light begin appearing throughout the temple. From the storeroom doorway, they look like tiny stars settling among the stone columns. The temple slowly exchanges sunlight for lamplight. No moment feels sudden. The transition is as gentle as breathing. A cool breeze enters once more. This time it carries the unmistakable scent of the Nile after sunset. The smell is fresh, clean, touched by damp reeds and quiet water. The keeper closes his eyes for a brief moment. He can almost hear the river itself. Not loudly. Only the gentle movement of water brushing against muddy banks. Perhaps a boat rope creaking softly against a wooden post. Perhaps reeds whispering together in the evening wind. These sounds have accompanied Egypt for thousands of years. They ask nothing. They simply continue. The cat rises from its mat. Its long nap has ended. It stretches with slow dignity before wandering between the shelves. Its paws make no sound upon the stone floor. It pauses beside one grain jar. Then another. Satisfied that everything remains peaceful, it settles near the doorway where cool air flows across the floor. Its green eyes reflect the nearest lamp like tiny pieces of polished bronze. The younger worker quietly laughs to himself. The cat seems to inspect the room just as carefully as the keeper does. Perhaps it believes the storeroom belongs to it. Perhaps, in a small way, it does. The keeper reaches for a bundle of spare linen cloth. He unfolds each piece one final time. His hands move with remarkable gentleness despite years of labor. The cloth feels smooth beneath his fingertips. He folds each square precisely. Corners meet corners. Edges remain straight. The stacks become even. This careful folding is almost a form of meditation. Nothing distracts him. Nothing rushes him. Only cloth. Hands. Breath. Light. Silence. The scribe rises at last. He bows politely to the keeper. The keeper returns the gesture. Few words pass between them. They have worked beside one another for so many years that conversation is often unnecessary. Respect has grown naturally through shared routine. The scribe lifts his writing case. Its familiar weight rests comfortably against his shoulder. Then he walks quietly down the long stone passage. His footsteps gradually fade. Soon only the keeper and the younger worker remain inside the storeroom. The temple has become noticeably quieter now. Many workers have already returned to their homes. The distant sounds of evening meals drift faintly from nearby villages. Somewhere beyond the walls, bread is being broken. Children tell stories about the day's small adventures. Goats settle into simple shelters. Donkeys stand patiently chewing their evening feed. Cooking fires send thin streams of smoke into the darkening sky. Life gently slows across the land. Inside the storeroom, another small task begins. The keeper opens a cedar chest containing spare lamp wicks. The linen strips have been rolled neatly. Some are thick. Others are very fine. He counts them quietly. Not because he expects any to be missing. Counting itself is part of caring. His fingers move steadily through the soft bundles. The younger worker writes the total upon a small wax tablet that will later be copied onto papyrus. Even this simple count matters. A lamp without a wick cannot offer light. The room falls silent again. The breeze has grown cooler. The lamps burn steadily. The herbs hanging from the beams release faint fragrances each time the air moves through them. Mint, chamomile, sweet marjoram, dry lotus petals. The scents mingle gently until the room feels almost timeless. The keeper pauses beneath one bundle of drying herbs. He remembers gathering similar plants with his mother when he was very young. They would walk before sunrise while dew still rested upon the leaves. She taught him which plants should be picked carefully, which should be left to grow longer, which were best gathered only after flowering. Those mornings seem very distant now. Yet somehow they return whenever these familiar scents fill the air. Memory often travels quietly. A smell, a sound, a touch. Without warning, an ordinary moment becomes connected to another many years away. He smiles softly to himself before returning the herbs to their place. Outside, the first stars begin appearing above Egypt. Only a few at first. Then another. Then another. Though they cannot be seen directly from within the storeroom, their presence is reflected in the peaceful hush that settles over the temple. The day's birds have grown silent. Night insects have taken their place. Their gentle chorus blends with the whisper of palm leaves and the distant murmur of the Nile. The keeper lights one final lamp near the rear shelf. Its warm glow reaches a corner that daylight abandoned long ago. The room now feels complete. Every shelf rests in gentle light. Every shadow feels calm rather than dark. The younger worker looks around slowly. He realizes that he has spent an entire day inside this quiet room, yet the hours never felt heavy. Each simple task flowed naturally into the next. Each careful movement had its place. The storeroom may never be remembered in grand stories. No king will stand here to admire it. No victory will be celebrated among these shelves. Yet without rooms like this, countless ordinary lives could not continue so smoothly. The keeper places his hand upon the old wooden door. Soon it will be closed for the night. Not yet. There are still a few peaceful moments left before the evening rituals are complete. For now, the storeroom remains awake beneath its gentle circle of lamplight, breathing softly with the ancient temple itself as another quiet Egyptian night slowly unfolds beyond its timeless stone walls. The evening grows deeper, though it does so with remarkable patience. The last traces of daylight slowly slip away from the temple courtyards. One by one, the high walls surrender their golden color and take on the soft gray blue of approaching night. Above them, the sky becomes darker with every passing moment, while the first bright stars quietly claim their places over the valley of the Nile. Inside the storeroom, the lamps now guide every movement. Their light is warm and steady. Each flame rests within its small clay vessel as though it has nowhere else to be. The keeper has always admired the calm confidence of an oil lamp. It never shines farther than it can. It simply offers enough light for the next careful task. Nothing more. Nothing less. He walks slowly between the shelves once again. Not because he expects to find something forgotten. Instead, this final walk has become a habit so old that he can no longer remember when it first began. Years have gently shaped it into part of the evening itself. His sandals whisper across the cool stone floor. The sound is almost lost beneath the tiny crackle of the lamps. The younger worker follows several steps behind. He notices that the keeper's eyes pause briefly at every shelf. Not searching. Simply observing. Like a farmer looking across familiar fields before returning home. Every basket receives a glance. Every jar. Every folded cloth. Every coil of rope. Each object seems to answer silently. Everything is well. The younger worker hopes that one day he will know the room as completely. For now, there are still moments when he must stop and think before reaching for the right shelf. The keeper never seems to hesitate. His hands travel naturally toward whatever is needed. Perhaps memory is built one ordinary day at a time. Perhaps this room has slowly become part of him, just as he has become part of it. Near the western wall stands a low wooden bench. Its surface is smooth from many years of use. The keeper sits there for a few quiet moments. He removes his sandals and places his feet upon the cool stone. The relief is immediate. The floor has kept the memory of the morning's coolness hidden beneath the heat of the day. He closes his eyes. Not to sleep. Only to listen. The temple sounds different now. The footsteps that echoed through the halls all day have nearly disappeared. Voices have become rare. The distant kitchens have fallen quiet after the evening meal. Only a few gentle sounds remain. A breeze passing beneath a doorway. A palm leaf brushing another. The occasional call of a night bird somewhere beyond the walls. The faint murmur of water flowing endlessly along the Nile. The younger worker notices the peaceful silence and sits upon another bench nearby. He does not wish to interrupt it. Instead, he listens as well. At first he hears almost nothing. Then, little by little, the quiet world begins revealing itself. A gecko clicks softly somewhere high upon the wall. A lamp gives the smallest pop as a drop of oil reaches the flame. The cat begins washing one paw with slow, careful strokes. Even silence, he realizes, is filled with gentle sounds. The keeper opens his eyes. He reaches beside the bench and lifts a small wooden box. Inside rests several polishing stones worn smooth through many years of use. Each has a different shape. One is round. Another long and narrow. One fits comfortably inside the palm of his hand. He chooses the smallest. A bronze measuring weight rests upon the table nearby. Its surface has grown slightly dull. There is nothing wrong with it. Still, the keeper enjoys caring for these little tools before the day ends. He rubs the smooth stone gently across the bronze. Slow circles. Patient movements. The younger worker watches quietly. Soon he selects another weight and begins doing the same. Neither man speaks. There is no need. The polishing itself becomes the conversation. Outside, the evening breeze freshens. It carries cooler air from the river. Somewhere beyond the temple, fishermen have finished pulling in their final nets. Small boats are being tied securely along the riverbank. The wooden hulls bump softly against one another with the movement of the water. Families nearby gather outside their homes where the air feels cooler than inside. Children sit beside grandparents. Simple stories are told beneath the stars. Bread is shared. Clay cups pass from hand to hand. The day gently folds itself into night. The keeper imagines these peaceful scenes without effort. He has lived enough years to know the rhythm of the villages beyond the temple. He knows when cooking fires begin to fade. He knows when shepherds settle their animals. He knows when the last merchants cover their market stalls for the night. Though hidden behind stone walls, the temple remains connected to every quiet life surrounding it. The younger worker finishes polishing the second weight. He places it beside the first. The bronze catches the lamplight with a soft glow. Not bright. Only warm. The keeper nods. Another simple task completed. Near the doorway hangs a bundle of fresh reed brooms. Tomorrow morning, before sunrise, one will be chosen to sweep away the fine dust that gathers overnight. The younger worker looks at the bundle thoughtfully. Every evening it hangs untouched. Every morning one broom begins another day of quiet work. Eventually its reeds become worn. Then another takes its place. The cycle continues without complaint. There is something comforting about that. The keeper notices his thoughtful expression. "You begin to see the room," he says softly. The younger worker turns toward him. The words are spoken so quietly that they almost become part of the silence itself. The room teaches slowly. That is all the keeper says. Nothing more. The younger worker smiles. He understands. Or perhaps he has only begun to understand. Either way, the lesson feels peaceful. The lamps continue burning steadily. The shadows move almost imperceptibly as the flames sway. One long shadow from a grain jar stretches across the floor until it reaches the opposite wall. It reminds the keeper of the irrigation channels that spread through the fields after the Nile flood. Long. Quiet. Purposeful. Everything in Egypt seems connected somehow. Clay becomes pottery. River becomes bread. Flax becomes linen. Wood becomes shelves. Light becomes evening. Time becomes memory. He rises from the bench and walks toward the largest grain jar in the room. Resting one hand upon its rounded side, he feels the coolness of the fired clay. Inside sleeps enough barley to feed many people. Yet from the outside, the jar appears perfectly ordinary. That thought pleases him. The most useful things often ask for little attention. They simply do their work day after day. The cat stretches once again. It wanders to the open doorway and sits looking into the courtyard. Its tail curls neatly around its paws. Night insects flutter around the lamps outside. Occasionally one drifts too close to the flame before changing direction again. The gecko upon the wall watches with endless patience. Every creature seems to know its evening routine. The younger worker begins folding the cloths used during the day's cleaning. Some still carry the faint scent of cedar wax. Others smell of fresh water. He stacks them carefully inside a wicker basket. Tomorrow morning they will be ready once more. Nothing needs replacing. Nothing has been wasted. The keeper walks to the high window. The opening is narrow, cut deeply through the thick stone wall. From here he can see only a small portion of the sky. It is enough. Several bright stars shimmer peacefully above the dark outline of distant palm trees. He has looked through this same opening countless times. The stars change with the seasons. Some appear only during certain months. Others seem to return faithfully every year. They remind him that even while generations come and go, the heavens continue their quiet journey. A cool breeze touches his face. He breathes deeply. The smell of the Nile is stronger now. Fresh water. River reeds. Moist earth. Somewhere, perhaps not far away, lotus flowers have begun opening beneath the night sky. Their gentle fragrance mixes with the cool air. It reaches the storeroom only as the faintest whisper. The keeper smiles. Tomorrow morning the sun will rise again over the eastern hills. The temple gates will open. Fresh deliveries will arrive. New records will be written. Dust will return. Lamps will be cleaned. Shelves will be checked. Nothing extraordinary. Only another peaceful day. And somehow, that thought fills the quiet storeroom with a deep and lasting sense of comfort as the ancient night continues to settle softly over Egypt, wrapping the temple, the river, the villages, and every humble shelf within these cool stone walls in a gentle blanket of silence. Night settles completely over the temple. The last trace of daylight has disappeared beyond the western desert. The limestone walls that glowed with warm gold only a short time ago now rest beneath the quiet light of the stars. The sky stretches wide above ancient Egypt, deep and peaceful, filled with countless points of light that seem to hang without moving. The air has become wonderfully cool. Not cold. Only comfortable after the long warmth of the day. A gentle breeze wanders through the temple grounds, slipping between columns, crossing open courtyards, stirring the tops of date palms, and finally finding its way through the narrow openings of the storeroom. The hanging herbs sway almost imperceptibly. Their shadows move softly against the walls. The keeper breathes in the cool air. He always notices this moment. The entire temple seems to exhale after sunset. The heavy work of daylight has passed. Now the quieter hours belong to listening, preparing, and preserving. Inside the storeroom, the lamps glow steadily. Their small flames paint warm circles upon the shelves while leaving the ceiling hidden in gentle darkness. Thick wooden beams disappear into shadow above, and now and then a tiny moth circles one of the flames before drifting away again. Nothing rushes. Nothing disturbs the calm. The younger worker carries a small clay bowl filled with clean sand. One by one, he places the bases of several lamps into the sand and gently wipes away the soot that has gathered beneath them during the day. His cloth moves slowly around each rounded surface. The clay becomes smooth once again. Some lamps are old enough that their rims have become polished from years of careful hands lifting and setting them down. The keeper watches for a while. Then he joins him. Together they clean the lamps in silence. The task has no need for conversation. The room itself feels as though it is speaking through these quiet routines. A clean lamp. A trimmed wick. Fresh oil. These small acts allow light to exist. The keeper has often thought that many important things begin with work so ordinary that few people ever notice. Outside, somewhere beyond the temple walls, a night bird calls. Its voice echoes softly across the open land before fading into the darkness. The sound is answered by another bird farther away. Then silence returns once more. The younger worker pauses. He listens. Every evening the birds seem to speak for only a few moments before settling into the night. Perhaps they are finding one another among the palms. Perhaps they are simply greeting the darkness. He smiles at the thought. The keeper finishes cleaning the final lamp. He places it carefully upon its shelf. Each lamp faces the same direction. The handles are aligned. The spacing is even. The younger worker notices this and quietly adjusts one lamp that sits slightly out of line. The keeper says nothing. He simply gives another small approving nod. The younger man feels quietly pleased. Without realizing it, he has begun seeing the room through the keeper's eyes. Near the rear wall stands a collection of large woven grain baskets that will remain empty until the next harvest. Tonight they rest in perfect stillness. The reeds have dried into warm shades of honey and pale brown. When the breeze reaches them, they give off the faint earthy scent of marsh grasses that once grew beside the Nile. The keeper runs his fingers gently across one basket. The weaving remains tight. Strong. Years ago, a skilled basket maker sat beside the river creating this very piece. Perhaps while listening to children play nearby. Perhaps while watching fishing boats drift downstream. That craftsman's quiet work still serves the temple today. The keeper wonders whether he ever imagined his basket would last this long. Across the room, the cat has discovered a tiny beetle making its slow way across the floor. The insect moves steadily, following the edge of the wall. The cat lowers itself. Its eyes remain fixed. For several long moments neither creature moves very much at all. Then the beetle disappears beneath a narrow crack between two stones. The cat watches the place a little longer before deciding that sleep is far more interesting. It circles twice upon its reed mat, then settles down once again. The younger worker cannot help smiling. Even the cat seems to understand that this room is a place for quietness rather than excitement. The scribe has long since returned home. His writing board now rests safely inside its cedar case. Tomorrow, before the first light reaches the temple walls, he will return. Fresh ink will be mixed. A new sheet of papyrus will be unrolled. Another ordinary day will begin. The keeper thinks about the thousands of records that now rest inside the storage chest. So many days. So many careful lists. Each one almost identical to the last. Yet no 2 days have ever truly been the same. One day brought a larger catch of fish. Another brought fresh honey. Another recorded extra linen from a nearby village. Another noted fewer onions after a poor growing season. Life changes slowly. The records preserve those quiet changes. The younger worker begins preparing tomorrow's measuring tools. He places each stone weight inside its proper wooden tray. The smallest weights stand together. The larger ones form another row. Everything has its place. He no longer needs to ask where they belong. His hands remember. Learning has become habit. The keeper notices this too. He feels a quiet satisfaction that is difficult to describe. Knowledge given patiently has begun growing inside another person. One day, perhaps many years from now, this younger worker may become the keeper himself. Another young apprentice will stand beside him asking simple questions. The same careful lessons will continue. The storeroom teaches every generation in almost exactly the same way. Outside, the breeze freshens again. This time it carries a stronger scent of river water. The Nile cools quickly after sunset. Moisture rises gently above its surface. The smell of wet reeds mingles with lotus blossoms opening beneath the stars. Somewhere fishermen still remain upon quiet stretches of water. Their boats drift almost silently. Small lamps hanging from the bows reflect as trembling lines of gold upon the river. The keeper has often watched them from the temple walls after finishing his evening duties. He imagines them now. The slow dip of an oar. The gentle splash. The quiet patience of people who understand the river as deeply as he understands his shelves. Every place has its own keeper. The river has fishermen. The gardens have gardeners. The workshops have craftsmen. The storeroom has him. The thought feels peaceful. He walks toward the heavy wooden door. Its cedar planks are thick. Iron fittings hold them firmly together. He places one hand upon the smooth handle that countless workers have touched before him. The wood has become polished through generations of use. Before closing the room for the night, he turns once more to look inside. The lamps burn calmly. The jars stand patiently. The folded linens rest neatly upon their shelves. The ropes hang in quiet circles. The herbs release their gentle fragrance. The polished bronze tools catch soft reflections from the flames. The room asks for nothing more. Everything is ready. The younger worker joins him beside the doorway. For a few moments they simply stand together. Neither feels the need to hurry home. The silence itself has become comforting. It wraps around the room like another wall, gentle and protective. Far away, a jackal calls across the desert. The sound is distant enough to feel almost dreamlike. It echoes once, then disappears into the immense stillness of the night. The keeper slowly reaches for the nearest lamp. Not to extinguish it. One lamp will remain burning until morning, offering a quiet light to anyone whose duties bring them through the temple during the night. He trims its wick just a little. The flame becomes smaller, steadier. Its golden light settles softly across the nearest shelves. The rest of the room fades into peaceful shadow. The younger worker lifts the empty water cups. He carries them toward the courtyard where they will be washed beneath the cool evening sky. When he returns, tiny droplets still cling to the outside of the clay. They sparkle briefly in the lamplight before sliding quietly down the curved surface. The keeper smiles. Even water seems slower at night. Together they begin the final little tasks that always come before rest. A loose cord is tied. A folded cloth is straightened. A broom is leaned neatly against the wall. A wooden lid is turned so its handle faces outward for tomorrow morning. Nothing dramatic. Nothing difficult. Just a series of tiny acts of care. Outside, the stars continue their silent journey over Egypt. The Nile flows patiently beneath them. Villages sleep. Palm trees whisper softly in the night breeze. And within the peaceful temple storeroom, surrounded by cool stone, warm lamplight, and the quiet company of ordinary things that have served faithfully for many years, another ancient evening settles ever more deeply into silence, while tomorrow waits patiently beyond the horizon, unhurried and full of the same gentle rhythms that have guided this timeless place for generations. The night grows older in the gentlest possible way. No one could point to the exact moment when evening became the deeper hours of night. The change happens quietly, almost as if the darkness itself settles layer upon layer across the temple. The stars climb a little higher above the Nile. The breeze cools another small measure. Even the insects seem to sing more softly. Inside the storeroom, one single lamp now becomes the heart of the room. Its flame is modest. It does not try to fill every corner with light. Instead, it offers a warm circle that reaches the nearest shelves, leaving the distant walls wrapped in peaceful shadow. The keeper has always trusted this kind of light. Bright daylight reveals every object at once. Lamplight invites slower attention. One basket. One jar. One shelf at a time. He remains inside a little longer before closing the storeroom for the night. There is no rule that tells him he must stay. No one is waiting to inspect his work. Yet after so many years, these quiet moments have become part of the day's rhythm. The room deserves a peaceful farewell before sleep. He walks toward the shelf holding the smallest pottery jars. Each one fits comfortably within his hand. Some contain dried flower petals. Others hold fragrant oils prepared months earlier. One contains powdered blue pigment that will one day refresh painted decorations inside a sacred chamber. Another holds finely ground red earth gathered from distant hills. The keeper lifts each jar only slightly. He feels its weight. He listens to the gentle sound made by the contents. Then he returns it carefully to its place. His hands know exactly how much pressure each vessel can bear. Clay remembers rough treatment. Gentleness allows it to endure. The younger worker watches from nearby. Earlier in the day he might have wondered why the keeper spends so much time on such small tasks. Now he understands. Caring slowly prevents problems from growing. Time spent today becomes peace tomorrow. He reaches toward another shelf and quietly straightens several folded linen cloths whose corners have shifted ever so slightly. No one would have noticed. Except perhaps the keeper. Now neither of them needs to. Outside, the temple courtyards rest beneath starlight. The lamps placed along the walkways burn quietly. Their flames hardly move in the calm air. Long shadows lie across the stone paths. Palm trees stand almost perfectly still. Only the highest leaves whisper whenever a wandering breeze passes through. Beyond the walls, the Nile continues flowing northward. It has flowed through this valley longer than anyone living can remember. It carried boats before this temple was built. It will carry boats long after every person now alive has become only a memory. The keeper often finds comfort in that thought. Some things remain steady. The river, the stars, the sunrise, the quiet work of ordinary hands. He kneels beside one of the large grain jars. The clay feels cool even now. He presses gently against the lid to make certain the seal remains firm. It does. Inside rests enough grain for many days ahead. The barley sleeps as peacefully as the people in the nearby villages. Waiting. Patient. Undisturbed. The younger worker notices the cat lifting its head. The animal has heard something. Its ears turn toward the doorway. Both men listen. Soft footsteps. Unhurried. Measured. A night attendant appears carrying a small oil lamp. His duty is to walk the temple after dark, making certain every passage remains safe. He greets the keeper with a quiet nod. His voice is little more than a whisper. All is peaceful tonight. The keeper nods in return. Yes. Only one word. Nothing more is needed. The attendant glances around the storeroom. The familiar order pleases him. Every shelf stands neat. Every lamp burns steadily. Satisfied, he continues along the corridor. His footsteps slowly disappear into the larger silence. The younger worker watches until the glow of the attendant's lamp fades around a distant corner. He had never thought much about the temple after everyone else returned home. Now he realizes that even through the quietest hours, gentle work continues. Someone tends the lamps. Someone checks the gates. Someone watches the courtyards beneath the stars. The temple never truly sleeps. It simply breathes more slowly. The keeper returns to the work table. Upon it rests a small wooden bowl filled with smooth pebbles used for counting. He lifts one between his fingers. The stone is cool. Its surface has been polished by water long ago before someone gathered it from the riverbank. How many hands has it passed through since then? How many keepers? How many scribes? How many merchants measuring grain? The pebble says nothing. It simply continues serving. He places it gently back into the bowl. One by one, the others follow. Tiny sounds. Stone touching stone. Soft enough that they almost resemble rain falling into distant water. The younger worker begins rolling a length of spare flax cord. He wraps it carefully around his hand before tying it into a neat coil. His fingers move almost without thought now. Morning had required concentration. Night requires only rhythm. He smiles quietly. Perhaps this is what experience feels like. Not faster work. Simply calmer work. Outside, the scent of lotus flowers grows a little stronger. The blossoms open fully beneath the night sky, floating upon the dark surface of quiet pools connected to the river. Their fragrance travels with the cool breeze. It reaches the storeroom only faintly. Just enough to mingle with cedar wood, dried herbs, lamp oil, and clean linen. The room seems to breathe these scents together. They belong here. The keeper walks toward the high window once again. Only a narrow piece of sky is visible. The stars have shifted. One bright constellation now rests directly above the opening. He remembers learning those stars from his grandfather when he was still a small child. They would sit beside the river after supper. His grandfather would point upward with one weathered hand. This one returns when the flood is near. That one watches the harvest. The bright one there rises before dawn. The old man's voice has long since fallen silent. Yet the stars still keep their appointments. Night after night. Season after season. Generation after generation. The keeper feels no sadness. Only quiet gratitude that some lessons remain forever. The younger worker notices him looking upward. He walks beside him. Together they share the small view of the night sky through the narrow opening. Neither speaks. The stars need no explanation. After a while they return to the center of the room. The keeper checks the remaining lamp. The oil level is good. The wick burns evenly. The clay base feels warm but not overly hot. Everything is exactly as it should be. He lowers the flame only slightly. The room becomes even quieter. The shadows deepen. The nearest shelves remain gently illuminated while the farther rows seem almost to drift into dreams. The cat yawns. Its mouth opens wide before closing again. Then it curls tightly upon itself. Soon its breathing becomes slow and steady. The younger worker laughs under his breath. It knows when the day is done. The keeper smiles. Perhaps it always has. Silence follows. Comfortable silence. The kind shared only by people who have worked together through a long day without hurry. From somewhere far beyond the temple comes the faint sound of water meeting the wooden side of a moored boat. Then another. Tiny waves. Tiny echoes. The Nile continues its endless conversation with the shore. The breeze carries the sound just enough to reach the ancient walls before letting it fade again. The keeper takes one final slow look around the storeroom. This room has witnessed countless mornings. Countless evenings. Countless ordinary days that together have quietly built the life of the temple. No great treasure rests here. No crown. No royal throne. Only the humble things that allow every other room to continue. Bread begins with grain. Light begins with oil. Writing begins with reed and ink. Comfort begins with linen. Order begins here. He rests one hand upon the old wooden door. The polished cedar is cool beneath his fingers. Soon it will close gently for the night. Inside, the single lamp will continue burning peacefully until the first pale light of another Egyptian dawn reaches the temple once more, bringing with it fresh footsteps, fresh bread, fresh river water, and another calm day among the quiet shelves of the ancient storeroom. The keeper closes the heavy wooden door with slow and careful hands. The thick cedar meets the stone doorway with only the softest sound. There is no loud echo. Only a gentle closing, as though the room itself wishes to settle into its night's rest without disturbing the quiet temple around it. The wooden latch slips into place. Its familiar weight rests comfortably against the frame. The keeper lightly tests it once. Firm. Secure. Exactly as it should be. He stands for a moment with one hand still resting upon the smooth wood. The door feels slightly warm where the lamp inside has shared its gentle heat. He smiles almost without realizing it. Every evening ends with this same simple touch. It has become as natural as breathing. The younger worker waits respectfully beside him. Neither man feels any hurry to leave. The hallway outside the storeroom is cool now. The stone beneath their sandals has surrendered the last warmth gathered during the afternoon. Their footsteps sound different here than they did earlier. The busy echoes of daylight have disappeared. Now every footstep seems softer, almost absorbed by the peaceful silence surrounding them. The corridor stretches away beneath rows of carved pillars. Oil lamps rest inside small stone niches along the walls. Their quiet flames send gentle light across painted scenes of harvests, boats, gardens, and offerings that craftsmen created many generations before. The colors have softened over time. Deep reds have become warm brown. Bright blues have grown gentler. Gold leaf catches the light only here and there. Nothing feels faded. Only older. Like a favorite linen garment that has grown more comfortable through years of careful use. The keeper begins walking. The younger worker follows. Neither speaks. The temple itself seems to encourage quiet voices after sunset. As they pass one open courtyard, cool air drifts across the smooth paving stones. The moon has risen. Its pale light reaches through the tops of the columns and falls across the floor in long silver shapes. The lamps provide warmth. The moon offers calm. Together they fill the temple with a peaceful balance of light. The keeper pauses for a moment beneath the open sky. He looks upward. The moon tonight is not yet full. Its bright curve hangs peacefully above the dark palms beside the Nile. Stars surround it in every direction. The younger worker joins him. He has worked inside the temple for many months now, yet he rarely stops to look upward. There is always another basket to carry. Another shelf to organize. Another delivery to record. Tonight feels different. The work has ended. The sky asks for nothing. It simply waits above them. The breeze moves quietly through the courtyard. Somewhere nearby, water trickles gently from a small stone basin fed by jars filled earlier in the evening. The sound is delicate, almost hidden beneath the whisper of palm leaves beyond the walls. A night flower has opened beside one of the columns. Its pale blossoms catch the moonlight. Their fragrance drifts softly through the air. The keeper recognizes it immediately. He remembers walking through temple gardens many years ago with an elderly gardener who knew every plant by its scent alone. The old man rarely hurried. He believed flowers deserved to be greeted just as people did. One by one. Patiently. The keeper smiles at the memory. Some lessons remain long after the teacher is gone. They continue along another passage. This hallway is narrower. The ceiling feels lower. The stone walls hold the coolness of the night. Here and there, small openings allow moonlight to spill onto the floor. The bright rectangles of silver slowly shift as the night moves forward. The younger worker notices tiny insects gathered near one lamp. Above them, a gecko waits motionless upon the wall. Its patient eyes never leave the fluttering wings. Finally, with one quick movement, another insect disappears. The gecko returns immediately to complete stillness. The temple feeds many quiet lives. Not only people. Cats. Birds. Lizards. Spiders. Even the smallest creatures find their place among these ancient stones. As they approach one corner of the hallway, they pass a large window overlooking the outer gardens. The moonlight reveals rows of date palms standing quietly in the gentle breeze. Beyond them lies the Nile. From this distance the river appears almost like polished black stone. Only where moonlight touches the surface does it reveal itself. Long silver ribbons drift slowly across the current. The keeper rests both hands upon the cool stone edge of the window. He has stood here many evenings before. Sometimes alone. Sometimes beside another worker. Sometimes beside the old keeper who trained him many years ago. He remembers the older man saying something simple. A river never hurries, yet it always arrives. At the time, he had only nodded politely. Years later he finally understood. Patient work carries life forward more faithfully than hurried effort ever can. The younger worker quietly asks, "Did he teach you everything?" The keeper thinks for a long moment before answering. "No. The younger man looks surprised. The keeper smiles gently. He taught me enough to begin learning. Silence returns. The younger worker considers those words carefully. Perhaps no teacher can truly teach everything. Perhaps each day quietly teaches the rest. They continue walking. The temple grows even quieter. Most lamps have already been lowered. Only those needed for the night attendance continue burning brightly. The scent of warm oil mixes with cool night air. It is a comforting smell. The keeper has known it for nearly his entire life. As they reach another courtyard, they hear the faint splash of fish somewhere beyond the walls. Perhaps near a quiet bend in the river. Perhaps inside one of the temple ponds. The sound lasts only a moment. Then stillness returns once more. The younger worker smiles. It sounds peaceful. The keeper nods. The fish know the heat has passed. The breeze becomes cooler still. It slips beneath their linen garments and brushes gently against tired skin. After the long warmth of the day, the feeling is deeply refreshing. Many workers sleeping in nearby villages have likely left their doors open to welcome this same breeze. Children lie beneath woven blankets. Parents rest after another day in the fields. Grandparents dream beside quiet cooking fires that have faded into glowing embers. Across Egypt, countless ordinary lives now sleep beneath the same stars. The keeper thinks of them fondly. The temple exists because of those people just as surely as they depend upon the temple. Farmers grow grain. Potters shape jars. Weavers make linen. Boat builders craft vessels. Fishermen bring food from the river. Each person supports another. Like reeds woven into one basket. Strong together. The younger worker notices a tiny crack in one stone step. He points toward it. The keeper bends slightly. It should be repaired. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. No urgency. No worry. The crack has waited this long. It can wait until morning. The important thing is simply that someone has noticed it. Small repairs protect many years ahead. They finally reach the outer gate where the younger worker will begin his walk home. Beyond the temple lies a dusty road glowing softly beneath the moon. Farther still are scattered mud brick homes where quiet lamps shine through small windows. The smell of baking bread has faded now. Instead, the night carries only cool earth, river water, and distant reeds. The younger worker bows respectfully. Good night. The keeper returns the bow. Sleep well. The younger man walks slowly down the moonlit road. His sandals leave faint marks in the fine dust. Soon the darkness gently gathers around him until he disappears among the palms. The keeper remains standing at the gate. He watches for a little while longer. Not because he is lonely. Simply because the night is beautiful. Above him, the stars continue their slow journey. Behind him, deep within the temple, one quiet lamp still burns inside the silent storeroom, watching patiently over rows of clay jars, folded linen, cedar shelves, polished tools, woven baskets, and all the humble treasures of ordinary life, waiting peacefully for the first birds of dawn to announce another gentle day beside the eternal waters of the Nile. The night has grown wonderfully still. The temple rests beneath a sky filled with quiet stars, each one shining with the same gentle patience it has shown for countless generations. The cool breeze continues its slow journey from the Nile, brushing through the palm trees, gliding over silent courtyards, and slipping softly beneath the old wooden door of the storeroom. Inside, the single oil lamp burns low. Its small flame has become calm and steady, casting a warm golden glow across the nearest shelves before fading gently into shadow. The clay jars remain exactly where careful hands placed them. The woven baskets rest peacefully upon their shelves. The folded linen waits for another sunrise. The coils of rope hang in quiet circles. Bundles of dried herbs release the faintest fragrance into the cool night air. Everything is still. Everything is ready. The keeper pauses one final time beside the door. He does not count the jars again. He does not straighten another cloth. There is nothing left to do. The day's work has already become tomorrow's peace. He offers one last quiet glance across the room that has been his companion through so many seasons. It has witnessed thousands of ordinary mornings. Thousands of peaceful evenings. Countless careful hands have opened its doors before dawn and closed them beneath the stars. Some of those hands are remembered. Many are not. Yet every one of them helped keep the quiet rhythm of life moving gently forward. Outside, the Nile continues its endless journey. Its waters slip silently through the darkness, carrying moonlight upon their surface just as they have carried the hopes, labor, and quiet dreams of generations before. Along its banks, fishermen sleep beside their boats. Farmers rest before another morning in the fields. Potters dream of fresh clay. Weavers dream of new linen. Bakers will soon wake before sunrise to warm their ovens once more. Across the valley, small mud brick homes lie peaceful beneath the stars. Cooking fires have faded into glowing embers. Children sleep wrapped in woven blankets. Parents breathe slowly after long hours beneath the Egyptian sun. The donkeys stand quietly in their shelters. Goats lie together in calm silence. Palm leaves whisper softly above them all. The temple stands watch over the sleeping world. Its great columns cast quiet shadows beneath the moon. Its painted halls grow still. Its courtyards rest. Its gardens breathe in the cool night air. Nothing asks to be hurried. Nothing asks to be remembered with grand words. Life simply continues, one gentle day after another. Perhaps that is where the deepest history has always lived. Not only in the names of kings. Not only in monuments reaching toward the sky. But in the ordinary moments that filled each passing day. In the careful folding of linen. In the trimming of a lamp wick. In the counting of grain. In the quiet scratching of a reed pen across papyrus. In sandals crossing smooth stone before sunrise. In bread shared at the end of a long day. In cool water lifted from the Nile. In the patient hands that cared for simple things so that many others could live their lives in comfort. These quiet moments rarely found their way into great stories. Yet together, they built a civilization. The stars continue their slow journey overhead. The moon drifts gently toward the western horizon. The lone lamp inside the storeroom grows smaller. Its flame flickers once. Twice. Then steadies again. There is no loneliness in the silence. Only peace. Only rest. Only the comforting rhythm of an ancient world settling into another quiet night beside the eternal river. And as the cool breeze moves softly through the reeds, across the calm waters of the Nile, and among the silent stones of the sleeping temple, the storeroom waits patiently for another dawn that will arrive without hurry, just as every dawn has for thousands of years. Now the stars keep watch. The river keeps flowing. The lamp keeps glowing. And the ancient night gently wraps the temple, the valley, and every quiet heart in its peaceful embrace, until even the softest sounds fade into stillness, and history itself becomes as calm as a whisper carried across the waters of the Nile. Sleep peacefully. Good night.